Hello, everyone. Welcome into the best place for the best takes. I'm Benjamin Cure. This is the Benjamin Cure Show. Wow, what a great weekend of college football. I am so excited. I had an opportunity to call some high school football games as well on Thursday and Friday. So believe me, I am all footballed out after this weekend. And I've got a lot of observations that I made about different situations, whether coaching or personnel or individuals or teams across college football. And I think week one is just so great because I'm not sure if it's like this every single year, but this calendar fell, first of all, on a long weekend, which happy Labor Day to all of you who are watching. But it fell on a weekend where we didn't have any NFL football, and I haven't been doing this show for long, so I don't know if that's normal, but it felt great. And if this is how it normally is, it's awesome because it gives us an opportunity to really hone in on our knowledge and our fandom for college football in general. So I want to start first with the headline here that you can see on YouTube. For our TikTok audience, you can't. Feel free to jump in on the YouTube broadcast if you'd like to. But Travis Hunter is the Heisman Award winner to me, and I know that might seem like an overstatement in week one, but I wanted to talk about Travis Hunter about a month and a half ago because I read an article regarding him. I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. Bruce Feldman did an excellent wrap-up. He talks about the top 100 freaks in college football, the guys who analytically, their size, their stature, their speed, simply are not human. Some people might think these guys are aliens if you take a look at these stats, and I can't wait to read you these stats because it proves just how much of a one-of-one talent Travis Hunter is. I'll get into it in a second first because I want to talk first about my general takeaway from Travis Hunter. I watched him play last season. I was very impressed. After the very first week, I came to the conclusion that he was one of the most talented players in college football in general. I believe that his following year, next year, this year for us, was going to be his best year yet. I don't think it's a hot take in any way, shape, or form, but I thought about this. Travis Hunter, to me, is the most versatile college football player in my lifetime. So I'm 20 years old, was born in 2003. To me, he is the most versatile college football player in the last 20 years in my lifetime. That's what I think of when I see Travis Hunter play. Like, the fact that people don't have that takeaway, and I understand there's people that are older and younger. I didn't get to watch Deion Sanders in his prime. I didn't get to watch Bo Jackson in his prime. I'm going to get to see Travis Hunter, and I could not be more excited. And I think he truly is a one-of-one talent, not just at his position because he plays so many, but just in general. You talk about guys who are quarterbacks, who are defensive linemen, who are tight ends, and then there's some guys that you just say, that's a football guy. That is a football player. Travis Hunter is a football guy. He is a football player. So I came up with a list. I came to the conclusion that he was the most versatile player in college football that I'd seen in my lifetime, 20 years. I also believe he's the most talented football player, and I wanted to make sure that I said this correctly and I got an accurate timeline so I wasn't overstating my opinion. I believe Travis Hunter is the most talented college football player in the last 5 years, definitely, and you could make the argument the last 10 years. Ben, don't worry, I have a list of names here. We're going to get into it. When I think of the most talented college football players of the last 10 years, a lot of them are Heisman winners. Some of them are not. Some of them came in second, fourth place in voting, whatever the case may be. Devonta Smith, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Chase Young, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Baker Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, Deshaun Watson. Some of those guys came in first place. Some of those guys won the Heisman. Some of those guys came in second or fourth place. I know Chase Young came in fourth place, right? These are players who, as impactful, as talented, as great as they were, you could argue that Joe Burrow was definitely the most impactful out of all of those. I don't mind saying that. To me, Joe Burrow had the greatest singular college football season of all time, and I was alive for Tebow, but to me, what Joe did was just unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it, and hopefully I'll get to see something like that again. I don't know if I ever will, though. Those guys are talented. With that being said, Travis Hunter does play both ways. His two-way ability totally separates him from the pack on this. He has the capability of single-handedly, literally, changing the game on any given possession. He plays special teams. He plays defense. He plays offense. So whether it's a spectacular catch in the red zone or in the end zone like we saw on Thursday, or he makes a pick that totally shifts the momentum of the game and gives the ball back to his quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, and gives himself essentially the ball back because he's going to be playing both ways, there is nobody that has that kind of impact that Travis Hunter has. He is not as great as Deion Sanders. I'm not going to say that. I don't think Deion, in the back of his mind, believes that either. But he is definitely the most talented two-way player of my lifetime. He is the most versatile player in college football in the last 20 years. And in my opinion, he's the most talented college football player, regardless of position, in the last 10 years. Another debate was started about Travis Hunter this weekend, though, and I think it's fair. Is Travis Hunter going to be able to play both ways in the NFL. As much as I love Travis Hunter, and I made it very abundantly clear how excited I am about his NFL future and his potential and his career at the next level, last year, I actually tweeted this out after the TCU game where he played 140 snaps of football. I responded to a tweet where I said, and if you're watching this on YouTube later, I'll try to put it on your screen. If you're watching the clip, this will definitely be on your screen. September 2nd, 2023 at 1:50 p.m. That way you can go double check this. I'm not capping. That's awesome, but definitely not sustainable over the course of a college football season. Nonetheless, an impressive Colorado debut for Travis Hunter. Now, that tweet got 43,000 views and whatnot. I had a lot of responses going from the range of the pendulum of, I totally agree with you, to you're full of crap. And one of the things that was a more eloquent response to that I thought about was, Living Legend here wrote, don't put your limitations on the young man. Which, you know what? I do agree with to a certain extent. But I was proven right later in the season. Because when Travis Hunter is playing the amount of snaps that he's playing, which I will get to in a sec, this is not just me inventing this. I have a database in front of me that literally shows how unprecedented his usage is. I was like, man, people are now joking around in comment sections. That fatigue section, that fatigue box, like the one that you have in College Football 25, that video game, Travis Hunter at the end of every game, his whole body must be red if you were to put him under that chart. Because he is playing so many snaps. Whether he believes it or not, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, he is going to be fatigued as the course of the season goes on. And because he's a great player, and football is a very macho and very egotistical sport, guys are going to cheap shot him. Guys are going to go after him. Guys are going to want to put a hit on him in their highlight reel. And that's exactly what happened last season against Colorado State, I want to say, when Travis Hunter was taken out of the game and had to miss several games because I want to say it was a punctured lung. It was a very serious injury. I'm glad he's back on the football field, but it was a serious injury that took him out for an extended period of time. That's not a one-time thing. Guys are going to go after Travis Hunter, and he's going to be more fatigued and more tired, and his body may not recover or may not be able to take a hit as well late in the season if he's playing this many snaps. Now, I do want to go back on the other side of the pendulum here. People are saying, will he be able to play both ways in the NFL? I don't think he can play both ways at this pace in college, was my whole thing. That's where I stand in the argument. I think he can play both ways in certain packages at the next level, which I think would be a really fun experiment. I don't think he should be playing 120 snaps a game, though. Now, there's an article that comes out every single August or July. Came out in August, early August. One of my favorite new series. I didn't know this existed. He's a very talented writer. Bruce Feldman of the New York Times. He writes the College Football Freaks list of 2024. This is essentially the most insane and the best of the best athletes at the college football level. Travis Hunter came in at number 2 on this list. I encourage you to read the entirety of the list. It is awesome. It is so in-depth. I read this back in August, the day after it came out, August 7th. I remember it because I was at the gym. I was waiting for a machine, and this was a really interesting read. I'm not going to read you the entirety of the thing. But speaking of Travis Hunter proving my point, being the most versatile player in college football in the last 20 years, Travis Hunter won the Paul Hornung Award as the nation's most versatile player in 2023. So we know that he's got the title of the most versatile, even if that's a one-year thing. He played 1,102 snaps total, 475 on offense, 631 on defense, 32 on special teams, an average of 115 snaps per game. Let me read you individual game statistics. Against Stanford, he played 149 snaps, 140 against TCU, 125 against Nebraska, 118 against Oregon State, 116 against Arizona. This guy is playing college football like his life depends on it. He is not taking snaps off. I believe in this past game, the season opener on Thursday, he only missed 2 snaps, one of which was because his helmet came off and you mandatorily have to take a snap off. So really, if he would have had it his way, he would have missed 1 snap of college football in his first game of the season. This is the crazy part here, that this just shows you who he is as a player. Real Analytics gauged Travis Hunter's max speed on a touchdown-saving chase down against TCU last season, first game of the year, at 21.2 miles per hour. On Hunter's 81st snap of that game, not the first snap, not the 10th snap, not the first drive, not the second one, not the first drive of the second half, he displayed a closing speed in near 100-degree heat in Texas of 6.9 yards per second in his diving red zone interception against TCU midway through the third quarter. Everybody remembers where they were when they saw that play. I don't have to explain it to you. If you're watching the clip right now, you remember this play very vividly. It was everywhere. It's one of the greatest college football plays I've ever seen. That 6.9 yards per second is the second fastest time on record out of nearly 8,400 defensive backs in real analytics database. As Dion tells you, Travis Hunter is a rare talent. He's not overstating that. We have literally never seen anything like this. I'm a big fan of Travis Hunter. I think he's going to win the Heisman. I have a lot of faith in him as a dual threat athlete, as a dual sport, or not, dual sport would be inaccurate, but as a two-way player in the NFL. I think it has to come in certain packages, though. And if I was him, I was his agent, I was his coach, I wouldn't want to overuse him. I would want him to be as efficient as possible. And even if he can be incredibly, unprecedentedly efficient while playing 120 snaps a game, I don't know that I would want to do that to him if I wanted to have an extended college football and NFL and professional career. With that being said, let's move on to our next story. Man, a lot of Travis Hunter talk to start off this show. Totally understood, though. Okay, this next one, we're going to go from a good story, a feel-good story, to not so much. This one should not make you feel good if you're a college football fan because it represents the old guard of college football that is seemingly unwilling to move and is literally biting themselves in the ass with their stubbornness. It's Dabo Swinney's fault, is the headline on this if you're watching on YouTube. Is it fair to question Clemson after their blowout loss? Yes. Last year, Clemson had their first 9-win season since Dabo's first season almost 14 years ago as their head coach. Some people may say, at this point, is Dabo Swinney sort of becoming a victim of his own success? I think you can say that to a certain extent. He's always going to be a two-time national champion. He's done a great job of recruiting guys over the years and has done a great job of scouting and evaluating really unique talent that nobody else can really figure out how to position them. I think Isaiah Simmons is a perfect example of this. He's a great coach. Nobody's taking that away from him. He's a two-time national champion. He totally changed around Clemson into one of the top 4 programs in the nation for a long time, for a decent amount of time. My lifetime has been spent under Dabo Swinney's reign at Clemson as Clemson being one of the top-tier programs in college football, and he deserves all the credit in the world for that. With that being said, Clemson this offseason joined Army, Navy, and Air Force as the 4 bowl subdivision programs that did not land a transfer in the 2024 cycle. For reference, the military service academies cannot take on transfers. Therefore, Clemson was the only college in the bowl subdivision program that optionally did not take on a transfer. And that's not a mystery, and that's not a coincidence. We remember Dabo Swinney a few years ago when he came out against NIL, when he was very against it before it happened, when he came out and he talked about his disdain publicly for the transfer portal. Things have changed in college football. There's an expanded playoff. There is NIL. There is reconference alignment. The guys who do not adapt will die. Nick Saban learned this. Nick Saban decided to walk away from the game because it had changed so much, and he's doing awesome on TV, and he has such a great personality, and he's a wealth of insight. But with that being said, I think he would be the first to tell you he did not like where the direction of college football was headed, and he decided to bow out. Dabo Swinney said several years ago, if this happened, if college football became what it was inevitably going to become and what it has become, he was going to bow out. He has not. He has sort of softened this tune, but not really. As you can see, he did not take on a transfer last year, and he was the only program that was eligible to do so that did not. The other guys are military service academies. They can't take on transfers. So Clemson, we went from a one-of-one topic and Travis Hunter in this case, and a good note, to now Clemson being a one-of-one on a bad note and seemingly being unwilling to adapt. Dabo's stubbornness getting in the way of this program. Last year, he got super defensive, called into a radio show, got mad at fans who were questioning his salary. Dabo's a great head coach. Nobody's denying that. Nobody's forgetting the importance that he has to the history of the Clemson Tigers football program. With that being said, I know people close to that Clemson program. I know people who went to school there. I know people who are at school there currently. They all tell me the same thing, the same feeling, the same stories. Dabo Swinney is very, very, very stubborn and is very unwilling to change. And right now, he's his own worst enemy. And this Georgia loss to start the season against the best team in the country may not be everything, but it's not nothing either. And it's another sign of the times when it comes to coaches and programs who are unwilling to adapt and are unwilling to move forward with what college football has become. They are getting left behind, and it is Dabo Swinney's fault. I digress. Next topic here. Arch Manning and his 2-touchdown debut. I love this story because this is the same thing to me. You see this story not often, but when you do, it's like, come on, guys. Family isn't everything, but it's not nothing either. Arch Manning had 2 touchdowns late in the game in their 52-0 blowout win in Week 1 for Texas. Arch Manning's father is Cooper Manning. Cooper Manning was always universally regarded as arguably one of the most, if not the most Manning brothers. He was regarded as the most talented Manning brother of them all. Now, because of injuries and circumstances, he couldn't live out his dream extendedly the way that people would have liked to, and Peyton and Eli ultimately had the better overall careers, but they both thanked him in their Hall of Fame speeches, and everybody knows about the importance of Cooper. Cooper is Arch Manning's father. Arch is the grandson of Archie Manning. He is the nephew of Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. If you did not think that a kid with his genetics, with his size, with his background, with his family, with their love, commitment, and commitment to college football, or football in general, if you didn't think he was going to be good, I really don't know what to tell you. I know that being the son of a great athlete doesn't guarantee you're going to be a great athlete, but the quarterback position and what it takes and the level of commitment and the level of study and the grind, if you didn't think that of all people, Arch Manning was going to be capable of buckling down and learning the game of football and playing it at a high IQ level since he was literally 10 years old, 11 years old probably, I don't know what to tell you. So many people have preyed on Arch Manning's downfall, and I've looked at spring ball or I've looked at his high school highlights and have been the first ones to dog on him when he plays bad, and have been the first ones to come up with excuses when, oh, you know what, well, he played really well, but it's against Texas teams in high school with no secondary, or it's in a spring ball game that doesn't matter against soft coverage and zero complex schemes. 2 touchdowns in his debut, looks excellent. Arch Manning is going to be in next year's draft class, he is going to be the number 1 overall pick. If you were preying on Arch Manning's downfall, or you genuinely believed that he wasn't going to be a great quarterback, I don't know what to tell you. You're in denial. You're literally preying on a kid's downfall, and I'm glad he made all of his haters look so stupid this weekend once again, because the fact that people think that Arch Manning is nothing but hype tells me you don't know ball. That's everybody's favorite saying on the internet whenever you say something they don't like. Oh, you don't know ball. You don't know ball if you thought Arch Manning was going to be a bust at the college football level, or if you don't think he's going to pan out in the NFL. The kid's got talent. The kid's got football IQ. He's dedicated. He works hard. He has the physical stature. I digress. And he's also the most talented and, if you saw the internet, the swaggiest of the Manning brothers ever. I digress. Moving on to our next story and our final story. This one hits close to home. And this one's very interesting because I wasn't expecting this. I tuned in at 3:30 p.m., to watch the Miami Hurricanes as they traveled to UF to play the Gators, and I saw the absolute cremation of this UF team, live and in color. And it was embarrassing for that team, and I think my takeaways at this point are I didn't have a lot of faith in the Miami Hurricanes going into the season. I'm from here. My mom went to school there. I'm near and around that campus all the time. One of the programs and college football programs that I've been closest to over the years. I have memories of watching them take on Notre Dame under that Malik Rozier era and getting a win and having a 10-win season. Like, I've grown up very close to this program. I've been to so many of their events over the years. I was not buying into the hype this offseason, and I haven't in several years, to be quite honest. I have a lot of faith in Mario Cristobal. I think he's a great recruiter. I don't know if he's a great coach. That was always my takeaway. And I was not one of the University of Miami Hurricanes fans who put a lot of stock in this offseason. I was more so preparing to be disappointed, and then if anything, they overachieve, and hey, we are where we are now. But now we're at a point where this University of Miami Hurricanes program is a real team, and they absolutely beat the brakes off this Gators team. And they traveled in there in week 1 as a favorite. I didn't think they should have been a favorite, to be honest. Clearly, they proved me and everybody else wrong. They ended up winning that game in spectacular fashion. We look at the ACC right now, and you look at the best teams, and you look at who you thought would be the best teams, and you see Clemson falter, and you see other programs just not play how we thought they would in week 1 in the ACC, and you look at the University of Miami Hurricanes, and you look at their quarterback, more importantly, Cameron Ward, my God, is he something special. And the fact that this guy flew under the radar the entirety of this offseason, I look at Cam Ward, and let me say this. I believe Mario Cristobal is an excellent recruiter. I've said that in the past, right? I said this moments ago. His strength when he had Justin Herbert in Oregon was the fact that he was so good at recruiting in the trenches, specifically the offensive line, but the defensive line as well. The strongest units on this University of Miami Hurricanes team, his third year into this thing, is the offensive line and the defensive line. And now they have a quarterback, the best quarterback that the University of Miami Hurricanes have had in literally my lifetime, and that is not an overstatement. Cameron Ward is the best quarterback in my lifetime, and he is arguably the most talented. Everybody's going to say, if you know the University of Miami Hurricanes, Ben, what about Ken Dorsey? I said my lifetime, the last 20 years. Ken Dorsey's last year as a University of Miami Hurricane was in 2002. I was born in 2003. Since then, you look at the notable quarterbacks. Brad Kaya from 2014 to 2016. He was all right. Malik Rozier, 2015 to 2016. I have some nice memories of Malik Rozier wins. Not necessarily an elite quarterback, though, in my opinion, even when he wasn't playing his best football. And then 2020 to 2021, De'Aaron King. He was really talented. With that being said, you watch Cam Ward, and everybody saw this, not just homers or fans here. His Heisman odds shot up last night the second that people could start betting on it. He is going to be one of the most important and one of the best pieces on a Miami Hurricanes team that could finally be everything they've advertised to be and then some. This team, like I said, Mario Cristobal is an excellent recruiter, if nothing else. People say, oh, he's not a great head coach. I'm not here to debate that. Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter. I have said that from day one. Recruits very well in the trenches, specifically offensive line. Offensive line and defensive line look excellent after this first game. It's his third year. It's officially his program. His guys are finally starting to make an impact. It's his recruits. It's his transfers. And this is the best quarterback that they've had in 20 years who, don't look now, is throwing at every arm angle that our favorite quarterbacks like the Caleb Williams and the Patrick Mahomes of the world can throw at. And you don't want to ever compare somebody to the best of the best in the league who are in the NFL right now. But with that being said, Cam Ward looks better than I could have ever imagined, and he's the best quarterback in 20 years that has been at the University of Miami Hurricanes program. This is going to be a real team. This team can win the ACC, and this team in an extended and expanded playoff model, a 12-team playoff model, don't look now, the Miami Hurricanes could be hosting a home playoff game in the college football playoff. I genuinely cannot wait. I don't think that's an exaggeration. Quick note here before we go. Close friend of the program, Fernando Mendoza. Don't look now. He might be the most underrated distributor of the football in college football as a whole. And he might be one of the best quarterbacks in his class, which, by the way, everybody's saying the class of 2022 quarterbacks in high school were absolutely terrible and the best ones have underperformed. Don't look now, but the guy who flew under everybody's radar and is playing at Cal right now might end up being their savior and might end up being the guy to lead them to extended success this season. We will see. He might be on the program a little bit later. Don't know how that's going to work out or not. We're big fans of him here, and I think he deserves a lot more credit and love than he is currently getting on the national media. With that being said, that is all for this week's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Great weekend of college football. We've got a great week of NFL football on tap. The season officially starts. The wait is over on Thursday. Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs. I cannot wait. We will talk about all of that and more on Monday after week 1 of the NFL season and week 2 of the college football season. With that being said, I'm Benjamin Cure. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next Monday.